Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday evening. Typically, I go live on Wednesday nights, but as you know, the Facebook breakdown of 2019 happened yesterday. Therefore, I couldn't get anything to work, and I figured if half the country isn't even able to watch, not like they are, but I wanted to make sure everyone had access. So now that Facebook is back and working, we can actually go live. So I'm doing my Wednesday night live tonight on Thursday. But no matter what, I'm here and I'm excited to chat with all of you. So good evening, welcome. My name is Sierra Harris, and I am the author over at adventuresofroom129.com. And I'm going live every Wednesday, it's Thursday, that's okay, every Wednesday night at 8:30 to chat with all of you out there in teacher land about comprehension. And we have been doing this now for about, what, 2.5 months? I can't believe it. 2.5 months it's been. And if you want to see some of the other videos that we have done in the last 2.5 months, you absolutely can access all of them. All the replays are live. You just go to my page and on the left-hand side, click videos, and then they're all there for you. So welcome. We're going to be talking tonight about summarizing. I have some really great tricks and tips that I'm going to be going through. So if you are a teacher and you teach summarizing, you may want to join in. So if you are here, please comment below and let me know. Say hi. Let me know what grade you teach. Let me know where you're from. And our question tonight, I've been trying to ask like a fun, silly question. I want you to tell me how many years you've been teaching. So if you could drop that information in the comments, that would be great. So I have been teaching for 12 years now. So this is my 12th year. And it's been wonderful. I focus on grades 2 through 4, which is why all of my resources and everything I talk about is really geared for grades 2 through 4. First and fifth grade absolutely can adapt the information in the stuff that we chat about too. So everyone is welcome. Elementary teachers. You middle school people stay out. I'm just kidding. So welcome. I hope I'm not talking to myself out there. I haven't seen anyone say hi back to me yet, but that's perfectly okay because I want to get started. Hi, Kylie. Hi, Rebecca. Oh, great. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. It's really weird if I'm just talking to a blank screen. I want to make sure you're all out there, right? So like I said, we're going to be talking all about summarizing. I have a great freebie for you that if you don't already have, you're going to love. I'm going to walk you through what that is. So if you want to find where the links are on your screen, it's different whether you're on mobile or on desktop. So find those links, and I've got a lot of great links over there. One link is for your freebie. I have a link over there to my blog post that's all about summarizing, which is the information that we're going to be going through tonight. So if you like to hear, if you like what you're hearing here in a little bit once we get started and you want to kind of save the information for later, you can click that link to the blog post and it's all there for you. And then I have a few other links over there that I'm going to go through in just a second. So I see Kylie's here. Rebecca, you've been teaching for 20 years. That's amazing. Kylie, it's your first year. I hope it's going so well for you. Like I said, I've been teaching for 12 years. And it has been amazing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's talk about summarizing. So when I was creating my schedule of all of my videos that I wanted to create this year, all of my lives for all of you, I really wanted to make sure that I was able to go very specific into strategies, into skills, and really hone in on them and how do we best teach them. So this, I think, is our second strategy that we've talked about. I did go live about visualizing a few weeks ago. So this is our second one now on a specific strategy, and we're talking about summarizing. So I have 5 different tips for you that's going to help you really be able to come at summarizing in a very specific way. As you know, if you've taught summarizing before, you know it's a difficult skill for many students, and it's for many reasons. Why? Well, first off, it's complex. It's a complex strategy that students have to have an ability to do a lot of things kind of all at once. And if they can't do one of those things, it throws off the whole pyramid, okay? So if you think of like a triangle or pyramid or whatever, summarizing being like the top point and all the little prerequisite skills underneath. So if one of them are missing, it kind of makes the pyramid a little bit wonky and it makes that summary not as strong. So one of the things that students really need to be able to do is they need to just have a working memory of the story. So if they don't remember the story, they can't summarize it. Also, if they don't understand main idea and details, that's going to affect summarizing. So when you're thinking about when you're teaching summarizing and you have students who are struggling, it's really good to make sure that you are digging deeper into the reason why, because it probably isn't the summarization, it's probably something else. And when you can figure that out, you're not only going to be able to help that skill specifically, but then you're going to strengthen summarizing as well. So, like I said, summarizing is very complex, and it's one of the strategies that I honestly wait until very, very end of the year to teach. And when I say that, I don't mean May, but I mean like I wait until we're really done and I've gone through a lot of the other strategies that are out there and skills that I need to cover, because I know so many of those affect my summarizing. And so I remember one year when I was teaching, I opened up the Basil, and the very first strategy it had me going over was summarizing. And I was like, what are these people thinking? Like, I understand this stuff is supposed to be research-based. Sorry if you are a Basil lover, but no, I'm not starting the year in second grade with summarizing. So needless to say, I shut my door and I did what I needed to do, right? We have to do that for our children. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with all the tips and tricks. Hey, Laura, I'm so glad you're here. So I'm going to break it down. Hopefully each of these tips is going to be very helpful for you. And what's really great about this is you can take each one of these and turn it into a specific lesson itself. So if you can remember all 5, and remember there's a link over on the side with the blog post. That blog post has all 5 of these. And I've got my water, right? You know me, I like to cough when I talk. So if you are wanting to remember these, then just go bookmark that blog post or pin that blog post. And then you've got all 5 of these tips, and then you can use each one of them, like I said, in an individual lesson itself. All right, who is ready to hear the first one? Right? Anyone? Anyone? All right, perfect. Hey, Jennifer, so glad you could join us. Okay, so tip number 1 is to make sure that you focus on relevant versus irrelevant information. So this is one of the biggest prerequisites for summarizing. If I had to like rank them, this would probably be number 1 or 2. But it is so important, and really honestly, this is my go-to prerequisite if I see students struggling with summarizing. So if I notice they're not getting it, then I stop, then I pull them aside and we don't even talk about summarization. We talk about relevant versus irrelevant information. And a lot of times what I'll do is the week before I teach summarizing, I'll do mini lessons on relevant versus irrelevant to make sure all of my students are solid on that prerequisite skill, because if they're not, I know it's going to negatively affect them in the summarizing week. So relevant versus irrelevant information. Clearly, as teachers, you know why. Why is this a prerequisite? Well, clearly, students need to be able to take that relevant information and they need to be able to use it in the summary. If it's not relevant to the summary, we don't want to use it, right? We don't want to take those irrelevant sentences that are in our text and put them in our summary. It will make the summary not a summary. So if students can't distinguish that, then they're not going to be able to write a strong summary. So here's what I do. So again, this could be an actual lesson that you do the day before, a week before, whenever, or in a small group if you need to pull people back. But it's so simple to do. All I do is make a T-chart. That's it. I make a T-chart and I label them relevant and irrelevant. And yes, I use those words even with my young students because I want them to know what those words mean. So when we're going through our text, and I let them have the text in front of them. So we read the text and then we make our T-chart. And then we go through all of the information. What information do you remember? I start with memory. What do you remember from the text? So then we go through and we talk about all the different things that they remember. Do you think that was important to the story? Where would that fall on my T-chart? Would it be relevant? Would it be irrelevant? And I kind of see what they think. I don't want to lead them to any information. I don't want to guide their answer in any way. I need to see, do they understand this? So if they're putting relevant information on the irrelevant side and vice versa, then I know, boom, this right here, this is the problem. They're not going to be able to summarize because this is a necessity. So then I pull out other lessons and things that I need for this specific skill. So you don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to create anything. You literally can pull a text and a T-chart or a dry erase board or whatever, and you've got a mini lesson, a really strong, really specific mini lesson that is targeting a prerequisite skill that all your students are going to need to be able to summarize correctly. So that is tip number 1, and it's a great tip because it works for all students and it works as an intervention strategy. So really make sure you remember that one, okay? All right, I'm gonna take a quick drink because clearly you can already hear me coughing. Okay, so we are on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 for summarizing. I hope you're gonna love this. Tip number 2 is to make sure you are exposing your students to poor versus strong summaries. So when we think about the exposure of summaries to students, a lot of times we'll pull a book. Let's see, I don't even know if I have a book with me. Oh, I do. This is my newest book that I bought. I bet you can guess why. So when we're exposing our students to summarizing, we pull a book over, right? And we show them where the summary is typically on the back cover or in the front, right? And we'll read it to them. And a lot of times, that's all they see. They see all these strong summaries. And that's great. But students need to see the other side too. They need to see the whole picture. Okay, what does a poor summary look like versus what does a strong summary look like? Why is this a poor summary? Why is this a strong summary? So what I do is I use this as a lesson. So here's what I do. I create this, and this just is something that you can make in like Microsoft Word. It's just a chart. And then all of these over here are stories. So you can see the word story. And then these are 3 different summaries for the story. It's kind of like Goldilocks is what I tell them. One is just right. One is too much. It's got too much information. And then one has not enough information, too little. And so what I have them do is we'll read these stories and I have them sort out all of the different summaries. So that way they are getting a nice concrete understanding of just how much information is actually needed in the summary. So you can see here, like this one right here, and they're very short stories. It doesn't take a lot. We don't need to read a whole text or a story or even a guided reading book to be able to do this. It can be short and sweet. So I've got a short little text here. So then they are, like I said, they glue them on here. Too little, too much, just right. Moving is hard. Well, that's clearly not enough information, right? That's not a summary of the story at all. Then I'm not going to read this to you because clearly you don't know the story. But then you can see here, this one has too much information. You can see how much text is there already. And then here is a nice, like, short sentence or 2 summary of the story. Students love this because it really helps them understand, why is this too much? Why is this too little? And those are the questions I ask over and over again. Why is the story or why is the summary have too much information? Why is it not good? Well, because it tells me all the details. I know the ending of the story. I know everything, basically. Why is this one too little? Why is it not good? Because I don't know enough. I've got to have at least like the main relevant information in my summary. So it kind of helps put those pieces together for them to get a more broad picture of what summarizing really is. Okay, so that is tip number 2, strong versus poor. And again, you can use that as a lesson. So what a great way to teach summarizing without them actually having to summarize, right? All right, tip number 3, and this is a tip that I would tell you when you teach anything in reading, any comprehension skill or strategy. I would tell you this, and I'm going to tell you right after this drink. I'm so glad you let me drink water with you. Thank you. Okay, so tip number 3 is to use familiar text. Okay, again, not earth-shattering, but a lot of teachers, and I was guilty, right? I was guilty of this for many years, is every time I would use a mentor text as a part of my lesson, I went and found a new one. But the thing that you really need to do is have a basket of like 5 to 10 mentor texts that really can be utilized for a lot of skills, a wide variety of skills. And you want to go to that basket and use those as many times as you can throughout the year. And the reason behind that is when students are listening to a brand new text, especially with summarizing, there's this whole process they're having to do. They're having to listen. Then they have to understand and remember the entire story. Then they have to do the whole relevant versus irrelevant, like what do I need to include in this summary? Then they actually have to write the summary. That's a long process. So what is my objective here? My objective is to write a summary, not remember and comprehend the text. I know that's part of it, but you understand. So I want to cut some of that out, right? It's going to shorten my lesson, and it's going to really help my students and build upon some of the schema that they already have. So I'm going to go to my basket of very familiar text that I have already read once, twice, or 3 times throughout the year, and I'm going to pull one of those out, and we're going to reread it, and that's perfectly fine. I want it fresh in their mind, and then we're going to work on our summary from that. So it's eliminating all the middle parts, all that extra stuff that we really don't need to work on right yet. Eventually, yes, we need to get into a new story, and yes, we need to understand and comprehend and remember and do all of that. However, right now, I just want them to focus in on the summary part, right? I just need them to understand what writing a summary is and looks like and feels like. And I want to get to that as quickly as possible. I'm going to do it using a familiar text, okay? So, for example, you can, when you pull out a text, you can easily look at that text, and one week you're looking at it and you're analyzing supporting details for it. And then maybe next week you pull out the same text and you can use it to analyze genre and find text evidence to support the genre. So it's the same story, but completely different lenses every single time. And it works beautifully. So if you have not tried that, if that is not something you're already doing, do it. Do some research or think back to all the books that you already have in your library and pull out those ones that you know are just going to be the vital 10 books, the core to your teaching, and use those, okay? Use familiar text. All right, so number 4. We are on number 4 of summarizing tips, and I'm really excited about this one. This is a great one, and it's kind of similar to number 1, as in you can use this as like a prerequisite. You can use it to see whether students are able to do this or not before you move into summarizing, and then you can also use it as an intervention, okay? So number 4 is to create an important word list. And let me explain. All right, so an important word list. This is so simple. You don't even need to prep anything, just like the T-chart, relevant versus irrelevant, right? So easy. What you want to do is after you read a text, and again, you can do this with familiar text as well, so you can kind of combine the 2 tips. Have the students create a web. Just a normal writing, brainstorming web where there's a circle in the middle with all the little lines coming out. In the middle, you'll have them write the title of the text. On the outside is where they are going to write important words. And I try really hard to make sure they're only using one word. If it has to be a phrase, that's fine, I guess, but I really hone in on just one word, One word. What are the important words in the story that you will need then to write your summary? Again, if students can't do this, then they're not going to be able to summarize, and we have another problem. We need to really look at probably just the overall comprehension. Why didn't they remember the story, or is it relevant versus irrelevant information? Kind of go back and dig in. What's going on here? So let me give you an example. If you were doing this with Cinderella, so I'd write Cinderella in the middle of my web, and then around the outside, I would write things like shoe, prince, stepsisters, fairy godmother, evil stepmother, maybe mice, magic, clock, chores. That would be my list. So I would use those to then be able to create my summary. So you can see how this is a great prerequisite lesson. It's a great intervention lesson, and it really, really helps because when students have their list, what I have them do afterwards sometimes, and sometimes we don't need to do this, is I have them kind of order the list, like sequence the words. So like prince would probably go somewhere in the middle, clock would go at the end, like can they put them in sequential order to when the events happened, and then they use that list of words to write their summary. So it's a great kind of black and white strategy to get them to understand the irrelevant or the relevant information, the important information, just by those single words, and then use that to write. Love that strategy. One of my favorites. So that was number 4. And again, if you have comments or questions, please feel free to write them down. I will go back and respond to every one of your comments and questions at the very end. I just can't do it because I can't see all the comments when I'm live. So if you're writing, please keep writing. Okay, another drink. All right, so we have one more. That's it, guys. One more tip, and it's a good one, but I bet it's one you've heard before, okay? But I'm going to give you a really cool spin on it, too. So my tip number 5 is to use the strategy, somebody wanted, but so then. I think SWABOT is what people call it or something like that. I've never called it that, but that's okay. SWABOT or somebody wanted, but so then, right? It's a great strategy. However, I feel like it can confuse students. And so if you're going to use this strategy, I highly recommend that you find a way to do it in a very concrete way. Students really need to know what each of those words mean. What does the somebody mean? What does the want mean? What does that look like in a summary? Okay, so here is what I do. I will go to the library and I will find summaries on the backs of books, and I go and I Xerox or copy or whatever a whole bunch of summaries. And then I will write up on the board different colors. So the somebody is blue, the wanted is green, the so is orange. And for each one of the SWABOT letters, I give a color. And what we do is we practice analyzing the summaries. Where in this summary do you see the somebody? Where does it show up? It shows up throughout the whole thing. Okay, great. Where do you see the wanted? Is it going to use the word wanted? What are other words that the author uses to show that? Okay, great. So we find that. So then what it ends up looking like is something like this. And hello, this is your freebie tonight. You are walking away with not 1, but 2 Color Me a Summary pages. So you can actually do this with your students. And these are all familiar texts. So once they read them, they probably have read the book before. They're not made up summaries. So, or made up stories, summaries of made up stories. You know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, these are over around the link. So if you find the links, it's the very first one. You can grab these and download them today. These are actually from my summarizing unit. So if you like these, I have the link over there for the full summarizing unit as well, as is this. This is something that you can grab in the unit too. But you're getting these for free. That way you can try, because I wholeheartedly believe that when you teach that SWABOT strategy, you need something concrete to go with it. You don't just want to teach them about the words and then have them do the writing. They need something in between to understand the strategy. So this is what I recommend. So again, you can see here that they've got the color codes at the top. and each one of these is a different summary, and they have to color code and find. You do not need to do these, or if you do them and you love it so much you want to do more, like I said, all you have to do is go to the library, find your books, Xerox the summaries on the back, and make copies of those and do it from there, right? And it's a great way for them to, again, get exposed and really analyze and break down what is a summary. How do you put the pieces together like a puzzle? How do you create a summary, and what does it look like when it's all done and put together? So there we have it. We've been talking for 25 minutes about summarizing, and I truly hope you have found at least one or two new tips or strategies for this concept that you can take back and use in your classroom right away. Again, if you want to see these again or hear these again, you can go over where the links are, and I've got a great blog post that has all 5 of these written out, so you can save that, pin that, go to that whenever you need a refresher. So that's there for you. Don't forget to grab your freebie if you haven't. And then again, if you love these and want more, the link to the full summarizing unit is over there, as well as the link to the entire bundle. So if you're loving these type of activities that are very different and unique, you're going to love that comprehension bundle, the building comprehension bundle, which is still 40% off. So just FYI. But like I said, everything that I told you tonight about summarizing, you can do right away in your classroom. You don't need anything from me to do any of those strategies. So if you're just not joining in, you want to go back and rewind, you're going to want to hear all these amazing strategies. If you have any questions, and I saw a few of them pop up, but I haven't been able to go through those yet. But if you have any questions about summarizing or about any of the strategies that we went through or anything else, please feel free to leave those and I will absolutely get back with you. I'm going to go through and read all those right away. And make sure that you check out all the links that we just went through as well. So thanks for joining this Thursday night, since the debacle of Facebook was yesterday. That was crazy. And I will see you next week, Wednesday at 8:30 right here. I can't wait. I will see you all then. Bye.